This is Murder in the Morning with Tony Bruschi and Stacey Cole.
Carol Hughes is filling in for Tony Bruschi. Luigi, if I say Luigi to you, what in the world do you think of?
Well, the guy that killed the guy.
Yeah,
the CEO of UnitedHealthcare.
Yeah. I'll tell you.
I was having a conversation the other day. We were talking about health insurance, and someone had just gotten effed over by their provider. I don't know if it was UnitedHealthcare, but it was one of those deals where they said that they couldn't take a medication, that they really needed to take this medication, so they had to get the doctor involved in and peel it and everything. And then she goes, "Free Luigi." And I'm like, I know that's kind of a thing a lot of people have been saying, but I'm like, even then, like, it's really not okay to kill somebody. But I think this frustration with the healthcare system has overwhelmed so many people, and so many people have had to fight just for like a basic medication that she needed.
As we were doing our first episode today, my phone started ringing. It was CVS Pharmacy, and I sent it to voicemail. I knew what it was. It's basically them telling me they don't have authorization for something my doctor sent in 3 months ago, a medication that my doctor feels would be absolutely beneficial for me to try to keep my diabetic risk down low. They won't approve it. They won't approve it. And I do have UnitedHealthcare.
I just don't get it. How the healthcare system can dictate your treatment. Your doctor should be able to tell them what you need. And if it comes from the doctor, you should get that medication. Exactly.
And here's what's interesting. This medication, it's one of the GLP-1 injections. Wouldn't be using it for weight loss, but it would help with a titch of weight loss, but keep my diabetic risk just below a certain level that diet and exercise haven't been able to do because it runs rampantly in my family. My dad died at 54 of diabetes. So it's something that I'm watching closely. It just is astounding to me that they would rather pay for me to be a diabetic. They'll pay for that. But based on the doctor's assessment that, hey, we could hold her off if we started her on this medication, even pay for half of it. I'll pay for the rest. No, it's just flat out denied. She has sent letter after letter after letter. We've tried to jump through the hoops to try to get it approved. No. And I actually asked the person that I was speaking to at UHC, will you cover me if I become diabetic? And they said, yes, it is covered.
But we don't want no preventative medication.
No.
It's insane. It really is insane.
It is, because once you become diabetic, once you cross that threshold, you start moving into your kidneys can become compromised. Your cardiovascular risk becomes a bit more elevated. So there's all these things that start ramping up. If you can hold off before you cross that threshold, you're going to be healthier. And it's not like I'm sitting here eating, bags of Doritos, and I'm exercising 3 to 5 times a week. I am on a very, very tight diet that's approved by my doctor. I measure my food. I do all the things.
You're doing the work.
It's not working anymore. So I'm paying $800-900 a month for this plan. Could you help me? What are you there for? Help me. Help me to stay alive and healthy versus, we'll wait for you to get all fucked up and then we'll take care of it.
That's so messed up. So that's where I think everybody's coming from with this guy. So many people have been effed over by their health insurance company that they're having a hard time finding sympathy. And it's not even just the healthcare system. There's just so many different types of companies that are laying off people or not paying people at the lower end, the worker bees, but the people at the high end, they're the ones making bonuses. All the decisions, and they're making shit tons of money.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what people are also having a problem with. This guy, and I think it's horrific. He shouldn't have been murdered. He had a family, he had a wife, kids, and that breaks my heart for them. I think that the reason people are okay because they kind of see him as a bad guy and they don't know him, but he's making a lot of money and his company is making his company is making people's lives hell.
Yeah, and it's the model that the United States healthcare system is built on. You know, UHC, UnitedHealthcare, isn't the only one doing this, but for some reason they were targeted, and Brian Thompson, the CEO who was allegedly murdered by Luigi Mangione, was targeted. There's a lot of other CEOs out there. There's a lot of other people earning millions of dollars at the top of the food chain in companies who do very similar things. It's just a lot to think about. And I think we're at a tipping point in our society here in the United States where people need things to change, that, you know, you shouldn't have to be working 2 and 3 jobs just to put food on the table. People are getting frustrated, and that frustration is hitting a tipping point. And when I saw this story come in, I'm not somebody who thinks that killing somebody is a way to do things to make a point, but I kind of sat back and went, well, now we're all paying attention to the insurance industry, aren't we? You know, sadly, is that what it took to get people to pay attention? Maybe. I don't know. And this case, we don't have a date yet set up, but the reason we're talking about it today is because Luigi is asking for a laptop. It's one of the first things we've really heard out of Luigi, other than the fact that maybe there's, I think, $500,000 to $1 million that's been raised for him, for his defense. But now he wants to have a laptop, access to it, an offline laptop, so he can review the mountain of evidence that's been handed over in his case. There's 15,000 pages of documents and thousands of hours of video. Remember, he was in Manhattan and he was there for a little bit. Everything in Manhattan is filmed. Everything. You can't walk down the street without several different views being taken of you. So everything is on video. He's going to have a hard time getting out of this. I don't understand.
I don't think he will get out of it. I think, you know, when it appears that he did it, and if they can prove that he did, he murdered somebody.
He did.
Period. And you can't set that precedent of, well, it's okay because he was, you know, running a shitty company. You can't use that defense.
No, you can't. He's being prosecuted under a rarely used state statute, murder as an act of terrorism. It's normally reserved for large-scale politically motivated attacks, not usually applied to an alleged single victim point-blank shooting. But prosecutors say that his actions meet that definition based on what he allegedly wrote on those bullets. Remember, he wrote things on the bullets that he used, allegedly. Yeah, it's just an ugly situation. And back to the laptop, his legal team says there's simply too much material for him to sift through during a limited window of jailhouse visits, because he has access to computers when his attorneys are there, but when they leave, he doesn't have any access to anything.
Yeah, that's true. And he should have access to that.
I would think so. And he's a smart kid.
Yeah.
Very well educated. He might have some interesting insights, but again, you know, he's probably not going to get off. I don't see how this is going to change. And like I mentioned earlier, we don't have a court date set up. We don't have any timeline of when this high profile murder trial will actually see the light of day in a courtroom. But this is going to be watched by millions and millions of people.
Because
this is huge.
He's created this kind of Robin Hood persona, like even though he's murdered someone, people see it's justifiable almost.
Yeah. Yeah, and the guy who does my hair the other day, it was 2 weeks ago, he was wearing a sweatshirt and it had Luigi, you know, the video game character on it. And I looked at him and I said, are you a video game aficionado? I didn't think you were. And he goes, nope. Oh, okay. So, this is the first time this guy who doesn't play any video games bought a Luigi sweatshirt. And we know why.
Yeah.
It's just, that's how it's going to go. People, they are holding him up as a hero. And there has to be a better way to have change for things in this country instead of killing people.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers Podcast, dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.